some of these websites go down, some of these companies can lose $10,000 in 10 minutes. So there's a huge degree of risk when you're, in the game of selling these type of extensions to these big companies. And so as an Adobe solutions partner now, which we received a couple of weeks ago, that's going to open the door like tremendously on all this stuff and marketing this stuff, because now our products are now going to be opened up to all of Adobe's customers, which includes like Coca-Cola, Haynes, Land Rover, LG. I mean, you name it. Tons and tons of companies.
What's up, Ada Nation? Welcome to Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. I'm your host here for Reed. Today, we're doing a deep dive with Mitch, the CTO and founder of Veralidity, an innovative payment gateway, which will be tying to Adobe Magento. Now, I just released some specific videos highlighting their recent partnership with Mehen, releasing USDM, a stable coin here on Cardano, as well as a recent integration with Charlie 3 or C3, the Oracle protocol here on Cardano. Now let's bring up Mitch. We're going to be diving into their roadmap and everything we can expect with their integration and support for Cardano utilizing this innovative solution. Mitch, welcome aboard. How are you doing today?
Pretty good, man. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. Veralidity has recently come on my radar, as I just mentioned there, with some interesting partnerships and integrations. So before we jump into, all the news surrounding that, what I typically like to do is just kind of kick things off with a little bit of an introduction from you, of course, but then also your background and then an elevator pitch as to what Veralidity is. So over to you to kind of, pitch yourself, but then also explain to us what that platform is doing.
Cool. So what I like to say that we are is a boutique development agency that specializes in Adobe Commerce and Magento open source development. What we aim to do is to seamlessly integrate Cardano and Ergo, and as well as down the line Flux. But what we really like to do is just try to make it as seamless as possible for everybody. And like what I mean by seamless is when you go to shop and purchase items, we want it to be to where you don't even know that you're even using blockchain technology. We just want you to go about your day and go ahead and just utilize it as you normally would in your day-to-day purchases. And so we focus heavily on custom integrations and just trying to integrate as much as we can. There's a lot to integrate with Magento and then Adobe Commerce. So that's just kind of what we're focused on right now. And then as far as my background goes, let's see, I guess I'll go way back. I guess I've been doing development for Magento before Magento was even owned by Adobe. I think I was probably 17th in California to get certified for that. And at the time when I got certified, I was working for a digital marketing agency, probably the best in San Diego, California at the time. And I was also running a side company that I had where I was developing custom extensions and I was offering those for sale on the Magento marketplace. My company was also a PayPal Platinum partner, which is by invite only. And you usually typically have like enterprise companies that are invited to that kind of scenario. And what that allowed me to do is to basically get a percentage of all transactions that went through PayPal on every website that was running my software. So there was at the time thousands and thousands of different e-commerce shops that were running my software. And then come circa probably 2015 or so, 2016, I think it was 2015 is when Adobe decided to purchase Magento. And they bought them out for, I think, $1.7 or $8 billion. And they started onboarding them. And then I got a call to be the sole technical reviewer for the Magento 2 Developers Guidebook, which is by Pack Publishing. And that was kind of an interesting little project there. But yeah, so from there it just kind of blew up. I stopped working at that marketing agency and just kind of did my own thing for a while. And I had my own agency for a while, just continuing to do all the cool things that I was like developing and selling. Um, and and then from there, I just kind of dropped off radar a little bit. I kind of stopped doing the whole agency thing. I had some kids, and so I was just taking the time to focus on them. I had sold the company that I was with, that I was doing things with, and sold the rights to all that stuff. And I was just kind of at a good place to kind of start doing things that I really was passionate about, and that was blockchain technology and the whole 9 yards with that. And so that's when I kind of started doing research on a lot of different things, and came across Cardano, and just like really fell in love with it. Honestly, from a technical standpoint, it just kind of just just like lit up sparks in my brain, as to like what could be done. And so then from there, it's just been an everyday thing, trying to brainstorm and come up with different ways to see how I can integrate it with what I know how to do, which is Adobe Commerce development, and try to basically onboard the masses in a way. Because right now, what I see is that we have kind of a breakaway civilization going on between Web3 and Web2. Everybody wants their own NFT marketplace. They want their own dApps. Everything's like all kind of separate. And there's like a breakaway civilization from the real world, which is, your average person that barely even knows what Bitcoin is. You know what I mean? They don't know about DeFi or anything like that. And so it just got me thinking that, if we really want mass adoption, then we really have to rethink it, and we have to, not just build outside of existing platforms and, just create our own, masterpieces. We have to, integrate with what people use daily. And so then that's where Magento open source and Adobe Commerce come into play, because you have enterprise level corporations down to small, like mom and pop, companies that actually use it. And they have a huge, market cap as far as, sales go, and, through their platforms. And I just kind of see a lot of what we're doing daily now kind of, migrating towards everyday shopping. And so that's kind of what our focus is on now, is just trying to integrate as much as we can and try to make it to where people don't even know they're using it. So
You've raised a couple of really good points, but then you also kind of actually dove into my next question, which was going to be why Cardano and Ergo. So maybe we'll skip that
yeah,
one. But
no, actually that's a good one too.
Mhm.
I'll just do it like a short one on that one. Why Cardano? I did dive into it, but from a business perspective, no one's going to use Bitcoin. No one's going to use Ethereum. It's gas is too much. It costs too much money. And for one, they're not even secure at all. Well, Bitcoin is, but Ethereum itself, no business wants to lose millions of dollars. No one wants their wallets hacked. No one wants them drained or anything like that. So from like a business perspective, Cardano and Ergo are the only choice, honestly, to tell you the truth. And I'm not knocking all the other chains, but all the other chains, to me, what I see with them is that they're more of FOMO, the fear of missing out, so they're just basically trying to launch these products and these ideas that they have without really taking a deep dive as to the repercussions of their code base, or what's even going to happen in 5 years from now. And so from a business perspective, if I'm planning my business and from a CTO perspective, what kind of software do I integrate with? I have to think about these things. I have to think about what's going to happen in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, even 10 years down the line. And so the decisions that I make are going to, basically affect the company long term. And so long-term choice, you have Cardano and Ergo. Those are by far the best, in my opinion. And obviously, I'm sure yours and, and a lot of other people's opinions. But from a company standpoint, that's just where it's at. Like, you're not going to have mass adoption on Ethereum. Bitcoin as well. Like I said, you're not going to be able to do daily transactions where someone's going to buy a greeting card for $2.99 online and then have to pay, $10-15 for gas fees or more. You know what I mean? It's just not feasible. So those are kind of the thinkings, that I have from, business perspectives, and why Cardano and Ergo. So
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I tend to generally agree with the gas fee issue. I think that's something that Cardano and other very similar networks that have taken somewhat of a science or research based approach have kind of come to the conclusion to. But then also the security that Cardano provides with its extended UTXO model, as well as its decentralization aspect, right? With over, I think, 3,000 stake pools operating or keeping the network alive. So I tend to agree there. I think with that general statement as to why Cardano, I think it's just a matter of time before the masses, i.e., the bigger companies, begin to realize that, all these things that they long for in traditional Web 2, Cardano is actually building for in Web 3 technology. So uh, um, now that we've kind of touched a little bit on your background, what Veralidity is, let's maybe just jump into some of the aspects or some of the services that Veralidity will provide. So you've highlighted at a very top level, you guys are a payment gateway. You guys will be integrating with e-commerce stores, specifically focusing in on Adobe Magento, which kind of ties back into your history. In terms of services on your official website, I see tokenization and minting, payment solutions, and then seamless order management. Can you maybe just highlight, how each of those kind of falls into the overall vision for Veralidity?
Yeah. So the tokenization thing kind of goes back. That was the original kind of idea and product that we had back in. I think it was like shortly after NFTs were launched. There wasn't even really smart contracts yet at that point. Um, I had created a Magento at the time. It was like Magento open source. So I created an open source module that allowed shop owners to manage their assets. So an asset would be like an NFT or like a fun or like an FT. Um, so you could do that all from the Magento admin. You could basically mint NFTs from your admin, and then you could also associate them to physical products or digital products. So, like I said, at the time, NFTs had just started, and so I contacted IOHK, and I was like, "Look, hey, like this is what I have. It's pretty cool. I don't really see anything out there yet that really does it to this extent. Like you can do all these cool things with it, and then, so I had a couple meetings with them, gave them an actual demo with the product managers, and they brought in a couple other people, and they were pretty impressed with it at the time. And then they just asked what I wanted to do with it. And I said, I wanted to basically start a company, and so I want to create more than just this. And so they told me to basically submit a proposal to Catalyst Fund 5, but I declined and just kind of just kept building for several years, just under the radar, because I figured that if I got the word out to kind of what I was doing, that you would have, every development agency around trying to basically replicate it and or, put 20, 30 people on it with their, tons of like monetary resources that they have. And then I'd, kind of be, like underneath, like the dustbin or something like that. And I just wouldn't have a chance at that point. So I made the decision not to do that and just keep building and building and building. And like I said, from having the opportunity with the book and selling the other business before, it allowed me to basically do what I want without having to have a job. And so I just kept building and building, using my own resources to build. And so that was kind of like the first initial product that we had. And since then, I've built on top of that to make it even better. Like you can manage privacy policies now. There's just a whole suite of management stuff that goes along with this. You can automatically send NFTs when an order is placed, so it automatically just gets sent. And the cool thing about that is that like I said, like you can associate and attach these to physical products. So it's not just selling monkey JPEGs anymore or anything like that. You could really do a lot with that. And if you really take it a step forward, then you can even do some customization and some custom programming on this to integrate it with your supply chain management. And then you have a whole nother sector that you can branch off into that. So it just really opens up the doors to a lot of possibilities for these companies. And utilizing all the stuff that Adobe Commerce has and Magento Open Source has, it really just brings a whole next level of like usability and just basically everything, because there's so much stuff that's built into these platforms. I mean, I'll have to give you a demo of all this stuff, but it's pretty neat. I mean, you're talking about multi stores, multiple like warehouse inventory, like management systems. I mean, like you name it. And so all these products and stuff that all these companies have are just so different. They have so many different attributes, right? So like an attribute would be more of like a trait for like an NFT, right? You have these different traits. Well, these products have attributes as well. And so you can go in and create all these different custom attributes for your products within these platforms. And then if you want to, then you can create a custom attribute group, and you can label it, say, traits or something like that. And then you can create custom attributes within that. And then so when you go and create your NFTs, there's just a simple drop down, like, do you want to include the product's traits as part of the NFT? So then so then that dives into having dynamic traits within your NFT creation. So then it'll pull all of the different product traits that you create custom with using the built-in Magento and like Adobe Commerce stuff, and pull it into the NFTs. And so I mean, it's just, in my opinion, it's kind of groundbreaking, because you're not just limited to a simple form that you fill out, like when you go and you mint your NFT, or a CSV file that's then looping through all the different, you know, rows and records of stuff to create your NFTs, by code. Um, you know, everything can just be kind of like dynamic. If you want to just have like certain products and just create custom attributes on the back end for that within, all these platforms and stuff like that, then your NFT form itself that you fill out just pulls it all in. So it's kind of neat. And then obviously that shows up on the front end. And then if you were to like utilize some of the different third-party extensions that are out there for these platforms, you could, say, purchase a marketplace extension, right? So the marketplace extension will allow basically for you to have your own NFT marketplace at that point. So there's just a lot of different things that you could do with this NFT system that I built. So, anyways.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to have a demo of this, right, and to
Yeah,
be able to highlight this on the channel. I think one of the biggest things that comes to mind when I hear of something like what Veralidity is doing is just exposure, right? So traditionally, in terms of payment, these are providers that sell a service, right, in an ecosystem, but they're just used to accepting fiat.
yeah,
So it's almost like they've had their world, and we have ways to pay for crypto stuff, i.e., NFTs, books, for example, with book.io, etc., with crypto, and we're just kind of doing things in our little world. Where Validity comes in, and why I think it's so big, is that it's almost like the bridge, right, to where it now allows for some of these Web2 service providers and shops, right, mom and pop shops, e-commerce shops, to now begin to accept payment in crypto, where now if somebody has crypto and traditionally maybe they just didn't want to, go through a centralized exchange, have to go through the hassle of, offboarding or off ramping and then making a purchase, they can now go ahead and do that seamlessly. So I think it's huge in terms of what it presents, and of course a lot of new use cases, which kind of takes me over into maybe this next segment. So I highlighted the fact that, and this is I think a little bit outdated, but I think the trend still remains, the fact that e-commerce, right, and online spending only continues to rise. So this was back in 2022, and I'm not sure exactly where that forecast actually landed, but I would assume that we're at over $1 trillion now being spent annually, right, on e-commerce shops. So I think this is again beginning to show why Adobe Magento is so important, and why having a bridge between that ecosystem and the blockchain ecosystem, I think will be immense and huge moving forward. Imagine when you go into a shop, for example, like Target, and you want to go ahead and utilize their POS, right? They've got integrations with all the sort of like top cards, i.e., MasterCard, Visa, whatever, and they've integrated basically at like all the shops that and shop at, right? I'm not sure of any shop now that doesn't allow or that doesn't support traditional credit card payments. I kind of see Verility going down a very similar route as online spending continues to go up and up, there's going to be more and more demand to support more and more payment methods, with crypto obviously being one of those, in my eyes at least. So that, I think, will just kind of take us into a recent partnership with USDM, or Mehen, who's bringing a stable coin to Cardano, right? So stable coin is something that we've needed. And to now be able to utilize that stable coin within our ecosystem for DeFi in yield generation is one mechanic, but a whole nother opportunity opens when people can now take that USDM and actually purchase, right, traditional and physical goods that they can have shipped to their homes. So can you kind of touch on the impact of this partnership, how it came to be, and how you see this kind of expanding the exposure, right, for crypto as a whole with integrations like USDM?
This partnership is pretty huge, especially for business owners, because, you know, there's a huge risk for them, to use cryptocurrency. Everything's volatile, price goes up, price goes down. So for a merchant, I'm going to be hesitant to even adopt crypto. You know, I want to make sure that the money that I make from sales that are made are going to be there, and they're not going to, disappear from my wallet if the price goes down. So this partnership is great because now it allows shop owners and merchants to be able to have stability within their crypto payments. And so we'll be able to offer customers the ability to pay with USDM. And not only that, down the line, we're going to offer the ability for merchants to be able to swap any other Cardano native token or ADA or anything like that to USDM, all straight from their Adobe Commerce control panel. And then that also just ties down into the payment solutions that we offer in general, which was, like when we first went into this, we didn't even really go into this thinking that we were going to be a payment provider or even think about developing any of this. It all stemmed from originally wanting to automate the tokenization solutions that we had. Like how can we automate that? Sure, we were able to mint NFTs and stuff like that, but we had no way that was, easy for merchants to be able to send those NFTs to customers that actually bought those NFTs. So then that, went on down the line, like, how can we automate this? So we had to then develop a payment gateway. We had to develop non-custodial wallet solutions. And then that just laid the foundation for creating the payment method that, is going to allow customers to be able to even, check out using ADA or any kind of native token like USDM. But then that just kind of brought us down a huge rabbit hole, because it's one thing just to be able to, display prices within, showing ADA or Ergo or something like that on like the front end of a website for products. But it's another thing to actually get those currencies installed within Adobe Commerce and Magento open source, or even Shopify or something like that, because what these platforms do is that they don't even bundle all the currencies and the price precision points for decimal places or the currency codes. Like that stuff doesn't even come within the code base. That stuff actually comes from the ICU libraries, which are installed on the server side within PHP. Like if you're talking about Magento open source and Adobe Commerce or even WooCommerce, right? They use PHP. So that comes straight from the ICU libraries, and the ICU libraries themselves are dictated by the nation states and what the countries actually use for their currencies. So unless a country adopts Cardano as their currency of choice to use, you're not going to get Cardano installed within these ICU libraries. So, and the problem with that is that because these platforms rely so heavily on these libraries, the design of these e-commerce platforms are inherently around the libraries, right? So what that means is that all the database tables and all the different columns and the schema for all the database tables, they are like limiting what the prices can be, right? So they're limiting everything to 4 decimal places. They're limiting the fact that when you add something to the cart and you're shopping using euros or ADA or something like that, in your quote within the database table for the products that you have in there, those are now storing the currency codes, right? So the ICU library says, well, all currencies have three characters. You can only go past four decimal places. And so, like I said, we had to go down a rabbit hole on this. Like, how do we actually really do this to where everything is seamless, right? Because when you place an order online, even though you're paying in ADA, you're not actually really processing the order on the back end in ADA. The order is still processed as dollars or euros or pesos or whatever. And so we had to actually pinpoint exactly where the platform is actually loading the currency bundles. And Magento is pretty great about this, about what they actually allow you to do, and how they allow you to do it. So, there's no core code that's modified with this and all that. But we had to go through all the core modules and every single database table and look at everything that was there and figure out exactly, how can we make this as seamless as possible to where, merchants are processing orders as they would with any fiat currency. And so our payment solution, dived into basically lots of different modules. We have the currency services module, which allows merchants to import price rates and currency exchange rates. They pull that straight from the Charlie Oracle feeds. On top of that, because there are so many currencies out there, Charlie doesn't provide every single currency that's known to man right now. You know what I mean? So we have to have a fallback, and that fallback is CoinGecko. I know it's not ideal, but those are in the situations that a merchant, wants to accept a currency that, isn't provided by Charlie. And then on top of that, there's the custom cryptocurrency module, which installs Cardano and Ergo and other tokens from the Cardano Foundation token registry. And all those currencies get installed at the point where Magento is loading in the ICU library. So they get inserted right at that point. And then Adobe Commerce and Magento, they think that, Cardano and Ergo and all these other currencies are natively installed, right? So then that kind of makes it to where I don't have to change up a lot of the different templates and stuff like that within, the whole administration process, to be able to display these currencies. These currencies are going to show up in your PDF invoices, in your automated emails, just the whole 9 yards. And then on top of that, the big one is the price precision extension that we have. As Cardano and Ergo both, go past 4 decimal places, which are traditional fiat, decimal places. I know we see two decimal places when we use dollars, but in fact they go down to 3-4 decimal places, and then everything gets rounded up to 2. So that was just a real big one, because like I said, in order to make that happen, you got to go through every database table and every part of everything that stores product prices and sales quotes and subtotals and shipping costs and coupon code discounts and just everything. And so we actually account up to 18 decimal places, because as a solutions provider here, we realize that there's going to be companies that don't want to even integrate cryptocurrency, right? So there may be a shop that just wants to show 4 or 5 decimal places in their product prices for whatever reason. They may want to, install a custom currency of their choosing that's not a cryptocurrency, just maybe one that they want to use for like an internal, rewards point system or something like that, or just whatever. So so that's why we separated everything from, into multiple different extensions. And that's the way that we did it, the way that we did. But yeah, so we account up to 18 decimal places, so if someone even wants to use a different payment solution, say they want to even use Coinbase to take advantage of Ethereum or something like that, you can use these other payment systems as well with these other modules that we have that, go along with our payment gateway and our payment solution method that we have. So it's kind of game changing in a way, because no other system really does what we do. They have a payment method, sure, you can check out, but like I said, everything's still going to be in your base currency. You're not going to go past 4 decimal places. And good luck, having everything as seamless as it is with this. This is as seamless as you can get it. So it's on a larger scale. It basically saves a lot of time, for the merchant. They don't have to go into multiple systems to process refunds. They're not going into Coinbase and having to, send a refund that way and then have to go back into Adobe Commerce to process the refund manually. Everything can all be done from the administration control panel. So this is truly groundbreaking in that sense. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of everything on that one.
Thank you. Sounds like quite a bit there. And I think the biggest
Yeah,
takeaway
sorry.
for me is no, 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 no. That's okay. I think the biggest takeaway for me is the fact that when we're dealing with something like what Veralidity has implemented, we're getting a native, I guess, for lack of a better word, right, installation of these currencies in these programs, as opposed to just kind of overlaying, things on top of that. What you mentioned, I believe, is the core sort of currency bundles. Now, I do have a quick question just surrounding how you operate the business, right? So Veralidity obviously has to keep the lights on, fund development, etc. Are you being paid by the e-commerce stores to allow for them to utilize the Adobe, to allow for them to use the Veralidity plugin? How is the revenue model, and how does Veralidity kind of keep itself profitable into the future?
So right now, what we're doing is it's kind of like I wouldn't say like a beta release or anything like that, but it's kind of like a closed release at the moment to clients that we already have, and allowing them to basically use it free of charge. And it's not really, it doesn't really cost me any money to allow them to use that. I mean, I run a Cardano node, but there's very little touch points on that as far as like when they need to actually use that and utilize that. But moving forward, how typically like Magento, open source, and Adobe Commerce works is that they have like marketplaces, and you typically package up these extensions and third-party modules for sale. And so if you were to go build your site, you can, let's say download it for $50 or $100 or like whatever we decide to charge, or we could offer it for free as well. And so that's typically what I did with the other business as well. We had a few different extensions that we were selling, and then they get free support, free upgrades, and then that kind of pays for it right there. I don't really have to worry about a bunch of things. And then when they do purchase something, typically these companies, they want custom development. They want, because like every company operates differently. I mean, like you walk into a store, every store looks different. That's the same thing with the back end of these companies and their systems. So typically when they get these extensions, they usually want it customized a bit. And so then, that also pays for it as well. But we have a lot of different things in the works, especially we had a couple Catalyst proposals. One got kind of approved in a way, but it didn't get the funding because there wasn't enough money in it and like the pot left. But we're still going to go ahead and continue doing the development on that. We already have proof of concept solutions on those. And so there's going to be quite a bit of revenue coming from those, especially with the gift card integration. So just imagine shopping on any website, but instead of buying a gift card and you have to use it on that website, you can go and redeem it on any Adobe Commerce website that has the software. And so typically, like if you were to buy like a vanilla gift card, right, there's like an activation fee of $5 or like whatever it is, right? So we'll be doing something a little similar to that, where we get, say, $1, $2 per gift card sale, and then the shop and the merchant that sells it, they may not get the actual gift card, sales, right? Because someone may want to like redeem that on another shop. So they may not get that money in the end, but they're going to get a cut of that activation fee. So it incentivizes them to basically sell these gift cards as well, because they're going to make money no matter what. And then we're going to get a cut of that. And so there's just lots of different things. There's quite a few things that we're going to have as open source. But there's quite a few paid extensions, just like on Shopify, where you have to pay, like their like model is like a software as a service type model, so you have to pay monthly just to, have these different customizations and third-party modules. Whereas our whole system with like Magento and stuff, it's usually you pay up front, you pay to download it. And then they have the code that they can go and install themselves, or I can install it. But then they typically can do what they want with it. They, like I said, they have access to the code, so they can, upgrade it and customize it how they want. They have developers. So in that sense, it's kind of open source at that point, like they have it. So, but yeah, that's typically how it is. It's, people pay to download. So.
Thank you. Sounds
Yeah.
like there's definitely a couple of ways that you guys can kind of, I don't want to use that analogy, that you guys can kind of go about implementing
Yeah.
revenue. I was going
Yeah.
to use
There's lots
another
there.
analogy, but it probably wasn't family friendly. Anywho, I did read something on the website surrounding an ISPO. Can you maybe highlight that? Are there plans for a Veralidity token? Can you kind of maybe just give us more details surrounding what the expectations are on that?
Those are great questions. We thought about creating our own token and all that stuff. And, since we're running our own nodes and our own infrastructure, it's only natural that we also have a stake pool. And especially with these merchants that are now going to be accepting, crypto, they're going to have wallets and just funds sitting in the wallets. From our testing and stuff like that with our existing clients that we have that are using this, their funds just kind of stay in their wallets. They're not really needing it to, make payroll or anything like that. It's just kind of, it sits there. So we're going to give them the ability to stake what they have in their wallets to our stake pool, and then to also a select group of stake pool operators, which we'll have you in there as well with your stake pool. But then that also ties in down the line to future plans that we have, which is like we want to be able to submit transactions from customers and from merchants who are basically doing B2B sales and stuff within their B2B pipelines. They're buying stuff from various different merchants and stuff like that. We want to be able to like utilize all these stake pools and send these transactions on a geo like location basis, right? In order to get these transactions in faster, and in order to kind of basically like alleviate loads. It's kind of like load balancing in a way, or something like that, or like a CDN in a way, if that's kind of how you want to look at it. But then as far as a token goes, I'm not really a big fan of, having a token. I'm not against it either. But at the same time, I can think of a million ways that we can, create a token just to integrate a token. But that's not what we're really, about and trying to do. We're not just going to create a token just to have a token and try to, extract funds and stuff like that. If we were going to do something like that, we want to make sure that there's really some use for it and that it's actually needed. But we feel that there's other ways that we can reward people who stake to our stake pool without having to create a token.
Got it. I appreciate that. And obviously, as more details come out surrounding that, I'll make sure to highlight that here on my channel. Just as a quick tidbit, if you guys are not already following Veralidity on Twitter, definitely make sure to go ahead and do so. I'll leave the official links to their Twitter page down below, as well as their official website. Now, we are coming up here towards the end of this video. I do have another call after this here, but there are two things I want to quickly go ahead and post to you, Mitch. The next, I think, is just going to be surrounding the roadmap. When can we begin to see some of these additional steps being worked on? What is sort of your focus here for the year of 2024?
Well, a lot of the stuff is already kind of worked on, and we're still working on, obviously. But the roadmap itself now is just trying to get the word out and trying to actually bring these products to market, to the masses, and getting them packaged up, like I was kind of talking about before. Like you have to have them packaged up, documentation, and basically do all the testing that is required for this. Because if some of these websites go down, some of these companies can lose $10,000 in 10 minutes. So there's a huge degree of risk when you're, in the game of selling these type of extensions to these big companies. Um, and so as an Adobe solutions partner now, which we received a couple of weeks ago, or even a week ago, I forget what it is, but that's going to open the door like tremendously on all this stuff, and marketing this stuff, because now our products are now going to be opened up to all of Adobe's customers, which includes like Coca-Cola, Haynes, Land Rover, LG. I mean, you name it. Tons and tons of companies. And so it's just a matter of getting all these things packaged up to where I can start offering them on the Adobe Marketplace. Um, and then so in that case, then Adobe itself would start testing, and they test everything to make sure everything passes everything. So that's kind of like our audit in a way on the like Magento side, not necessarily like the Cardano side stuff, but just basically getting everything packaged up and then continuously just building on what we are trying to accomplish. There's tons of different ideas that we have. There's a midnight integration thing. We're part of the Pioneer, club, I guess, that's doing all the testing and stuff like that. And that ties into a few other different things that we're building, which is like the single sign-on thing. So, being able to go to any kind of Adobe Commerce website and being able to log in, with your credentials you have in your wallet, but on top of that, having everything be encrypted, and so even when you go and create an account on a e-commerce shop, the data itself is encrypted within their database. So yeah, it's just kind of just like wrapping up all these things that we've been building for a while now. There's lots of things that we have already built and wrapped up, and they're all there. They're just being tested now by all these other companies that we currently are working with, and they're kind of doing like the last minute, well, not last minute, but they're doing like the final testing, and then we're going to take their feedback and then just start wrapping everything up, and getting all the documentation down, like I was saying, and just kind of throw it out there and start selling it.
Yeah. I mean, you started rattling off some of those big names, and that was the point that I was trying to illustrate earlier. I think this gives so much exposure to companies that have historically not integrated or even been exposed to crypto, much less Cardano, right? So with so many different Cardano native assets available, it sounds like you guys will be working to upgrade, what is supported, but then also even integrate some of these additional methods to make it even easier, right, to integrate Veralidity into some of the biggest names and contributors that people outside of Web3 are very, very familiar with. You mentioned Coca-Cola, Haynes, etc. So that's what really has me excited about what you're building. In closing, the very last thing I like to pose to all my guests is there anything that you wanted to share here with the Cardano community, Ergo community, or just the Web3 community, right, that we haven't touched on that you think is of importance in terms of closing thoughts?
Not really. I mean, I kind of touched on it a lot, pretty good, but yeah, I mean, just imagine shopping online and just being able to, like I said, like be able to do it seamlessly. And a lot of times, like you won't even know that you're even using Cardano or blockchain stuff. I mean, that's kind of the end goal. And if we're successful with this, I mean, it's just going to be profound for Cardano. I mean, and Ergo. I mean, you're talking, like I said, I mean, we're talking these huge companies. What we're doing is we're bringing Web3 to their doorstep, right? They don't have to go to, a DEX to swap stuff. They don't have to, go to an outside system to do all these things, because time is money. A lot of these people aren't going to want to have to hire people. If it's not going to integrate seamlessly what they already, are using right now, then the chance of them actually integrating and using it is going to be very, very, very slim. Because a lot of these companies themselves, they have millions of dollars in their IT infrastructure, or hundreds of thousands of dollars just to integrate like an ERP system, like NetSuites and, SAP and stuff like that. So for these companies just to go ahead and, switch to these other platforms just because they can accept cryptocurrency, it's just not even going to be feasible for them, So we have to develop into what they use, and if we can make it as seamlessly as possible for these people, and just dumb it down and make it super easy for them, then, it's going to be an everyday thing. People are going to use it for everyday transactions. People that barely even know what crypto is are going to be using it. And so that's just kind of what I want to just drive home is that that's what we're building and that's what we're offering. So
it doesn't get any easier than installing an extension. And I think you said it so well. We have to bring crypto to their forefront, which is exactly what Veralidity is doing. So, ladies and gentlemen, sit down here, chat with Mitch, the CTO and founder of Veralidity, again, providing an instrumental piece here to connect crypto and blockchain to the traditional Web2 e-commerce space. This, I think, was just an introduction. I think that we've just barely scratched the surface, especially as I continue to look at your roadmap. I definitely think that we should have a catch up soon as some of these milestones are hit and as Veralidity just gains more adoption. As I mentioned earlier, for the viewer watching at home, if you guys want to find out more about Veralidity, their recent integrations and partners, check out the description down below. As always, if you guys found any portion of today's video to be valuable, please make sure to smash that thumbs up. It really does make a difference here on the channel. If it's your first time visiting Dapp Central and you want more content like this, highlighting the best builders here in Cardano in the Web3 space, consider subscribing to the channel. And last but definitely not least, if you have any questions for me or Mitch surrounding Veralidity, then make sure to go ahead and leave a comment down below. That said, and as always, we'll catch you guys in the next video.